Hey everyone, it's Nick.
And Adam.
And we wanted to break in to tell you about what's going on with the King James Virgin podcast and future podcast plans.
Well, you've probably noticed in the last few weeks there's been it's been Nick and I doing a lot of the episodes, just the two of us.
You may notice that somebody is mostly missing.
Yeah, and we kind of wanted to talk about it and talk about the future.
Yeah, so Alan is a busy human and father of two children now.
Newly-ish. Well, literally right at the pandemic. Like, he got dropped to, like, here's a pandemic and here's a child. Good luck. Or second child, I should say.
Yeah. And longtime listeners of this show will know that our format currently requires the most preparation and effort from Alan.
Yes. He's like spending at least 2 or 3 hours rereading stuff that he's not necessarily like stoked to read.
Right. Exactly. So as he's getting busier and as Adam and I have continued to release shows that, you know, we hope that you've enjoyed listening to.
Yeah.
And we've had fun
try
making.
not to do content that people hate.
Right. Yeah. We have realized, like, Adam and I like spending time with you all each week, and we don't want that to stop just because one of us is missing.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that I hope I'm not speaking for you, but I feel that I would prefer to touch base with our listeners on a weekly basis, as we have been, kind of keep things mostly the same. But there's also, if Adam and I had started a podcast today by ourselves, I don't think that religion would be a fundamental part of that conceit.
No. And I think we've talked about it. It's in earlier episodes. Well, I think it's on specifically the Jacob and Esau episode where we talk about where the impetus for the whole podcast came from, was literally Alan and I making jokes about Bible stories that were just flying so far over Nick's head that he was just staring at us like we're idiots.
Yeah.
And so that conceit.
And the same is true today.
Yes. Although more and more we'll say something and Nick just like goes, oh, I get that now.
Right. Yeah.
Or he'll come to us as like, by the way, I watched this like B movie and they made a reference.
This makes sense now. Thanks, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think you and I necessarily, well, I mean, like the three of us don't naturally just talk about the Bible.
No, it doesn't.
Most of the time.
It doesn't typically come up. So we are, the idea here is that we are going to kind of wind things down on King James Virgin. And
to be fair, we're also getting close to running out of like big Bible stories.
Sure. So rather than scraping the bottom of the barrel,
right?
Or
doing more like conservative Christian,
like
politics.
Pull teeth with weird things that we never really wanted to deal with in the first place.
I think like our mandate was literally no jeans in church. Was like that was the point we were all like, you know, pull the chute, get out of this thing.
Yeah. So we're going to do some Christmas episodes.
Yeah.
And we are going to ask that you stay tuned to this feed for obviously more information about what we're doing going forward. But also I think that there will be some future King James Virgin surprises.
Yeah, like mini series.
Yeah.
Mini series? Series I? And I don't know what the plural of series is.
And if you do enjoy hanging out with us every week, the way that I feel about, you know, appearing in your headphones every week.
Yeah.
I would encourage you to likewise follow Adam and I on our next adventure.
Yeah. And we don't know. We have a couple of ideas that we're fleshing out.
Yeah. We're basically going to find a way to talk about more things that we are interested in. There'll probably be some pop culture things. There'll probably be some historical things.
There'll probably be some Bible things, unfortunately.
There'll probably be some Bible things. And it'll actually also free us up to add a lot more guests who we've wanted to have on who
don't have any context.
Yeah, have not been able to talk about the Bible, but want to talk about other things with us. Fascinating people that we want to introduce you to.
Oh, and I'm sure that people you've heard, like, we'll definitely, Evie probably won't do Catholic Corner. Well, hell, we might do Catholic Corner, but we'll definitely have Evie on.
Yeah.
And will probably want to weigh in at some point on all of these things.
And there will probably be some sort of fictional element maybe to our next series.
Ooh. Little known fact, people, Nick actually went to college on a drama scholarship that he did not use.
Correct.
And
Cash that check, though.
Yeah. I was going to say cha-ching, but like...
Turns out it didn't go to me.
It was like a cha.
So in summary, I definitely want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for listening to a podcast that I'm pretty sure we didn't think had any audience, and the fan interaction has been so awesome. And so we'll be winding things down here on this feed, but stay tuned for more on what Adam and I do in the future, and for more King James Virgin mini series and things like that, special episodes occasionally. I hope that there are a handful of you who might follow us along just because you enjoyed our company, and if you find the new thing and think, well, this is not for me, then that's totally fine too. It will be a different
I will
thing.
not accept that. You must like everything we make.
Yeah. But we wanted to plant the seed now, and let's get on with it, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
Welcome to the King James Virgin, where my friends Alan and Adam recount Bible stories from their childhoods to me. I've never heard them before. My name is Nick.
And my name is Adam.
So we go from the Bond villain.
Good God. Like, re-listening to it while I was editing it. Gee, there was things I forgot. There was so much Bond villainy.
Yeah.
I will stand by, he has a weather machine.
Yes. So, well... And
if you don't know what we're talking about, check out the Pat Robertson episode. It's entertaining as fuck.
Yeah. So I feel like in our Pillars series, we've kind of ramped up in terms of ridiculousness.
Definitely.
Just the bulk of information and batshit crazy stuff.
Well, because it also ramped hard because Russell Kirk was just kind of like boring conservative professor.
Yep. Yeah.
And then like, what's his butt? I totally forgot. Falwell, Jerry Falwell. I was gonna say Jim. It was like,
you start to ratchet it up.
But he got pretty crazy pretty quick.
Right.
And then like Pat Robertson just like lit the fuse and launched into the stratosphere.
Yeah. So we're gonna ramp back down.
Oh, okay.
In several ways.
This is a denouement.
Yeah. We're also going back in time. This is. Oh. For some reason, I thought of this series as a 4-part series, and then I was like, shit. How do you pick 4? People, because you can pick,
sure,
without specifically dealing with like lifelong politicians,
right,
or people who are just politics people, like people who have had I'm kind of trying to focus on people who've knowingly or unknowingly had an influence on conservative politics and like
moved it in a certain direction with us, like maybe more than they necessarily had intention to.
Sure. Yeah. Anyways, it's difficult. So I had a pool of people that I wanted to kind of choose from. And when it came to the last one, I had wanted to do it chronologically. And then I was like, well, shit, I think that this guy is important enough that we should talk about him. And also kind of in classic KJV style, I thought it was time that we actually we need to bring a Catholic into this.
Oh, all right. Fair enough.
So we are talking about G.K. Chesterton today.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Do you know about Chesterton?
I bits and pieces. Chesterton is one of those people that gets quoted a lot, kind of in the same way that like the Buddha would get quoted in, and like, but
That's such a funny comparison.
By non-religious people.
Okay.
Like, there's people who are like pseudo-Buddhists where they're not like, they don't really subscribe to it. But if they say, well, if you pin me down, I mean, I guess I'm kind of a Buddhist.
Right. He, as you'll see, Chesterton has like a clever boy thing about him where lots of his writings and speeches are like infinitely Confucius-esque quotable.
Yes. And that's kind of the vibe. He's very, very quotable, and he's very, very like artistic. Christians use him a lot in talks.
Yeah,
if
perfect.
that makes
Yeah.
So that was my relationship with him. I don't know anything beyond that.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that, like, if you were to pin me down on, I would be like, I shouldn't be quoting this guy because I actually don't know anything about him.
Mm-hmm.
But I like these 5 things that I've heard.
Well, I'm glad that you that your awareness is that, because that's kind of the angle here, that this guy has kind of like proliferated, despite like kind of like the Russell Kirk thing, without like really, I don't get the sense that he was like actively pushing ideology. Like, this man was a writer and poet and columnist and critic. And so he was writing,
Yes.
I don't think that he had any agenda.
Like arch
Yeah,
purpose.
Certainly not like an evil agenda or like whatever, but I think that like with Russell Kirk, it's very easy for people to hold him up as, like in quotes or whatever, as like, oh, there's this guy that existed in the 1800s who believed this and appears to be smart.
Right.
So I am likewise smart.
It's interesting because in my brain, so I know, I think we've talked about this too, but like there's chunks of my brain that haven't realized that I'm not a Christian anymore, or like I don't subscribe to an ideology around. And so like every once in a while I just like stumble upon these like pockets of, like, oh, right. And this is one of them where like I think I would have put Chesterton, like my feelings towards Chesterton are like liberal Christian, and I have no idea if that's actually like I'm a little like there's part of me that's apprehensive that you're gonna like disabuse me of like positive thoughts around him. Like I think if you would have just said, "Hey Adam, like this book popped up. Do you know anything about Chesterton?" I would say like, "Oh, he's probably something that I would still agree with as I'm reading." In the same way that like I agree with most of the writings, like the teachings of Jesus, I still like ideologically go, I agree with that. I agree with that. I agree with that. I don't agree with this.
Yeah, he's well, you don't have to worry about like any like secret diamond mines or like dealings with brutal dictators necessarily.
No, but I am worried that he's going to go like, I don't know, like the man is the head of the household and women should all be subservient or some shit like that.
No, there's really very little. There's some controversy that we'll get to, but for the most part, not.
Okay.
Which is why I say he's boring. Like, come on, bring on the controversy, bring on the muck.
I'm interested to see how he's used by conservatives, because that's again my brain is like, I think of him as liberal Christian.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's just because that's the people who used his quotes were liberal Christians.
Yeah.
In my personal life.
Right. It's an interesting brand of conservatism, I'll say.
Okay.
So Chesterton lived from 1874 to 1963.
Oh, okay. He's older than I thought he was. Further back.
Right. As I said, he was a Catholic, but he was a convert to Catholicism from Anglicanism.
Not. Yes, but it's the same fucking church.
Yes, but he had very unkind things to say about Anglicans as he proceeded in his career.
I mean, that's such splitting hair. It's the same fucking church, just you have the king instead of the pope. Like it's the same. It's the same fucking whatever.
I feel like there's a trend here, one of conversion in the people that I've named. And two, well, I guess in a lot of the people that we've talked about, there have been like kind of interesting, like atheist or agnostic things going on in their families and things like that. Maybe even themselves.
Yeah.
What I think is interesting about him as a young man, again, this is, late 1800s. He had a whole phase of being fascinated with the occult. And
really?
Yeah. And
I mean, that is like timeline wise, that's very Crowley-y. Like,
oh, absolutely.
That timeline that makes sense. You know what I mean?
And what I think is funny about some of the descriptions of like what he was into when it came to the occult, you can tell the kind of sources for this material because of what they consider occult. Like he even experimented with a Ouija board.
Okay.
You know, like, whoa, this guy was deep.
What's weird about that, like, it's very funny looking at the Ouija board specifically.
Yes.
Because, like, the way that I was raised was that the Ouija board was akin to, like, is in the same, like, vein as voodoo dolls, or in like tarot reading, or I'm trying to think of other.
So same vein,
grimoires and spell casting, and that was the, like, and frankly probably D&D. It was all kind of in this pool of like, if you're gonna like bundle it in a like levels of evil as well as like things. The funny thing is like being out of it for a certain length of time is like, it's literally a Parker Brothers game.
Yeah, right.
Like, and once you like, it's like, this was a product like Coca-Cola,
right,
or Monopoly, I guess is probably like, it takes a bit of
like
the
a cheap consumer product.
Yes, it takes a bit of the like like
mystique and gravitas.
Yeah,
the same way that like D&D is or whatever. You know.
But the funny thing about it is like, so it takes the like devil out of it, but adds a new level of evil from corporate evil as like my personal political words start kicking in, and I'm going like, oh, I do still find you evil, but that's not funny. For the reasons.
Yeah. That's funny. So growing up then, you would, if you had like friends that were playing with a Ouija board.
So this is what's interesting. There's party line, and then there's like pragmatic dogma going on here. So party line is that you are channeling a connection to the devil.
Okay.
And that is at best tempting fate, and at worst inviting devil possession.
Yeah.
Adventists do believe in devil possession, though they don't like. So Adventists are very academic as far as like Christianity goes.
Okay.
And like there's a lot of disbelief, but there's this like superstition around the edges that 99.9% of all like devil worship and like speaking in tongues and all of the like spiritual warfare shit is overhyped. But there's this like fringe that really is happening. Like, and usually like, because white people are racist, just like the deep heart of Africa, there are still these devil practices going on. Like that's the implication that is kind of floated out there.
I mean, we saw that in the Rock documentary or whatever.
Right. Yeah. And you're like, oh shit, there's like, I mean, it's so tangent. I remember being set. Have I talked to you about how like the rock music talks that I had as a kid, specifically about dancing?
Yeah. Right.
Where like the emphasis of the one and the three versus the two and the four, and like the swaying back to side versus swaying, like it having to do like the roots were all from tribal dances from Africa. And like as a kid, I didn't put the connection like, oh, this is like secondary racism.
Right. Yeah. Because you are instilling this belief into children who can easily make the logical jump that this is bad, they are bad.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's all like at that level of, so like if I was a college student, I would make that jump and then could have logically thought about it.
Sure.
But as a, 11-year-old, I make that connection, but like subconsciously, but don't make it consciously.
Yeah.
Which to me is more insidious because it plants these seeds of superiority and of racist content.
Yeah.
Without me really
totally
being aware of it. So shit like this comes out. Even now I will have like impulses towards things and not know what the root of is.
Yeah.
And then if I, but I have to spend like self-reflection going, why am I feeling that Africa is evil?
Yeah.
And then I have to go down 3 or 4 layers and go, fuck, this has been, Anyway, shit like that is...
That's why therapy and this podcast exist.
100%.
Yeah.
All that being said, the Ouija board thing, like, I think my parents' specific attitude was it's bullshit, but let's not tempt fate.
Yeah.
Like...
Right. I'd hate to give my blessing to you to play this game with your friends if by chance you accidentally did get the devil inside of you.
Right.
Yeah.
That was kind of the implication. Like, we don't think that this really has any power. There's also like, just to add another like weird level, like, did you read American Gods by Neil Gaiman?
No.
Okay. The idea behind it is that all of the gods are powered by belief. So you basically a god doesn't have power without followers. And so the idea is that all of the old gods are dying out and all the new gods of like internet and entertainment and, are rising up to be more powerful because no one's believing in Odin anymore. That's kind of the gist of it.
I've always said that's a damn shame.
Yes, for sure. But conceptually, there's a little bit of that underneath this too. Like these things don't have power unless you believe that they have power.
Yeah.
So like the Ouija board doesn't mean anything unless you believe it means something.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, it's an intentionality and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That I think that's where like, if you believe you're trying to connect to the devil, you could connect to the devil.
Yeah.
I think
I don't necessarily want to make this the Ouija board episode.
No,
rather
but
than
like
the Chesterton episode, although Ouija boards are more interesting. So to date, have you ever played on a Ouija board?
No. No, but I obsess over them. Like, I mean, in the same way that I obsess of like collecting tarot cards.
Sure.
And I obsess over like voodoo dolls. Like I own voodoo dolls. I've never played with a Ouija board, but I have like different, like I've got prints of Ouija boards. And I've looked on Etsy and almost purchased like really beautiful hand carved stuff. Like in the same vein, the reason that Jumanji terrified me as a kid was it's basically like a more interactive Ouija board.
Sure, totally.
And like I almost spent $1,000 on a replica of the Jumanji board.
Oh shit!
And then like finally talked myself out of it by going, this is almost $1,000 on a like not even a toy.
Yeah.
And not even like original prop.
Right.
Like
nor even like a good board game.
No, you can't play it. Like it's just a thing you have on your shelf.
Yeah.
But like that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Like the way that it's manifested into me is I'm obsessed with media around it.
Yeah.
And I love the stories around it. I love Crowley.
Yeah.
I mean, like when I was looking at doing a brewery, I was literally going to call it like Secret Society and base it on like occult imagery.
Yeah.
So anyway.
I have never played with a Ouija board either. And I can't ever I don't think I was ever even around I think that was just like not relevant anymore. I think it's slightly more relevant now, maybe. And that there's like witch Instagram.
Yes. Yes, that. But I also think it was older than us.
Yeah.
Like I think it was like
Sorry, I'm not calling out witch Instagram. Honestly, love you. Don't come after me.
No, but like it may be more in vogue.
Yes, totally. Yeah.
But in the same, like, I think it was a little bit older than me in the same way that like D&D had kind of fallen out of favor by the time. Like D&D's heyday was when I was, a toddler. And so like I only came to D&D later.
Yeah.
In the same way that I think like Ouija boards were more like late 70s, early 80s.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that has more to do with it. Our Ouija board was like the net, where like you might click on it was all like government conspiracy theories by like accidentally clicking onto a weird symbol and connected to the NSA somehow and being chased by the state.
Amazing.
I mean, I think that's honestly like culturally the equivalent.
Yeah. So aside from that, there's really nothing interesting about this young man's career.
Okay.
So we're going to skip straight to Chesterton as he is known, which is a fatso.
Really?
Yeah.
Like his defining characteristic was weight?
I mean, there's a lot of like caricatures and stuff of him. His weight does play like his other like famous cohorts or whatever would constantly joke and write about his weight. At one point, like in like some society paper or something, there was like somebody was describing a very loud crash and said, quote, "It was a sound like G.K. Chesterton falling onto a sheet of tin." Just like, damn, shots fired.
Damn, with no like, ouch.
Yeah, and like using that as like, well, everybody knows this guy's a fatso.
Right. They don't recognize that. So here's I have a theory that I've just come up with right now.
Yeah.
Anybody who goes by initials only instead of a first name, overweight.
Oof. Okay. I don't have any evidence one way or the other. And I am nervous to wade into that water.
I mean, yes. Here's what it may be.
Yeah.
Like, it also seems like it's a rich person in the 20s idea.
Definitely.
You know,
and
like,
so then you get into just like, well, he was well fed.
Exactly. Well, he had food. He wasn't wasting away.
Totally.
So maybe but like, because you said G.K. Chesterton, like in my brain, he was like a larger gentleman.
Yeah. So picture the large gentleman, picture these like tarp sized tweed jackets and cap. And a walking
tarp sized. Jesus, we're still like firing shots like 60 years.
I gotta get it in where I can in this episode, man. He always carried a walking stick and was usually known to be like chomping on a cigar.
So it's Winston Churchill.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was 6'4", and do you want to guess his weight?
6'4"?
Yeah.
Oh shit! So he was giant as well. Like he's just like a huge, imposing linebacker.
Yeah.
So you say he's large, and he's 6'4". So
I've said he's large.
300?
286.
Okay.
So that's a
Yeah.
but yes, tall. That's a big man.
That's a giant human.
Do you know how many stone that is?
Oh, I did look this up. Like a stone is like 27 pounds or something. So I'm gonna say like 10, 11 stone.
20 stone 6.
My calculations were not correct.
Okay, so he is basically at the time, he is Edwardian England's most eloquent advocate for distributism.
Is that the precursor to socialism?
So kind of, and this is where it gets both interesting and confusing because unlike Kirk, Chesterton was interested in economics.
Politics. Yes. Economics.
So yeah, you'll remember that Kirk was basically devoid, uninterested. His theories didn't touch that.
What's interesting is distributism. Do you want to give me a quick primer? Because I'm assuming it's like we need to distribute the wealth, but amongst everybody.
Yeah. So it's interesting and confounding at the same time to me.
Okay.
As a card-carrying socialist, this is fascinating.
Yeah.
So
this feels like proto-socialism.
Yes, which Evie was quick to remind me, like at the time was
radical.
but not an unpopular idea.
Oh,
you have a strong working class developing who is seeing that things are starting to tip.
Yeah, but ironically, I actually think that like socialism makes more sense in that case versus a distributism, because distributism doesn't require a working force. Distributism literally, well, again, I am going by the name alone.
Yeah.
So I mean, because like socialism by its nature is saying that the means of production are owned by the workers versus by the elite. And so like Industrial Revolution feels like the first thought is like, wait, why is that guy who's not working hard making 3 times as much as we are?
Yeah.
Which they didn't realize like that goes from 3 times to 25 times to like several thousand times.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Right.
But before you get to like, I actually feel like distributism might be a step further where like, regardless of whether or not you work in this factory, our wealth should be distributed.
You are correct. The biggest,
this is the shit that we wanted to talk about. I mean, that,
Yeah.
Sorry.
So the biggest linchpin here is that the problem, he says, with socialism, let's say, is that is inherently a governmental reform.
Oh, I see why this is
conservative. So there's a religious
Okay.
angle here, which does not mix. So there's a skepticism of governmental socialism.
Yeah.
And so you take that out of the picture and you say that is not their role at all. The government's role shouldn't be in this at all.
Yeah, I see.
So
it's libertarianism.
We need, yes. Or, libertarianism would be more strictly like individualistic in a way.
But it's Christian. So this is Christian libertarianism.
Yeah. And so like, where does that power lie? Well, it could lie in the church. The church could
fill that.
Redistribute wealth and whatever, or organizations.
Literally, I was gonna say, this is like when I was in college, this is Christian libertarianism.
Sure.
Like this is the idea that government doesn't like cannot
Yeah.
like the idea is so that like it's interesting because like libertarianism on its face doesn't mix well with Christianity. Like it flies in the face, and like the individualism, the inherent selfishness of libertarianism like directly conflicts with Christ.
Yeah.
And so the way that they would get around it would be like, no, this is a political statement of selfish and individualism, so that the church and like social, what is the word I'm looking for? Not like non-for-profits and charities. Yeah. That's the word I was trying to get to. Will do the distribution labor. And that's what they're there for, because people are more like the idea is that people are inherently more quote unquote good than the government.
Yeah.
I would argue it turns out that individuals, when they're not being watched, tend to be more evil than individuals who like inherently turn the scrutiny of the world back on themselves. But whatever, that's a different, no, this makes a ton more sense. Like it's the same fucking, it's the same fucking idea. It is conservatism. I get
right. Well, and so this is the, and I'm really glad that you have seen this in your own life, because that's actually why I chose this as the fourth pillar, because I feel like this is actually really important. Like a religious person advocating for this actually like made a really big impact.
Christianity doesn't accept Ayn Rand unless you get this angle.
Right.
Like
exactly.
It really doesn't.
And what's also funny to me is that now you get, in the world of conservatism, you do have a skepticism of big socialism in government, but also while paying no attention to distributing anything to anyone.
Right. No, you completely lost. Well, no, see, that's the thing, is the assumption is that that's what churches and charities are doing. It's the crazy, the weird thing about it, it's the same thing is happening. It's like watching Democrats versus like democratic socialists, or social democracies, or like it's the same thing where you're assuming that shit's being done that you wanted to be done.
Yeah.
Like I assume by like, I'm going to vote so that I'm not spending money to the government. The government is, because they are bad at it. So I'm going to give my tithes and offering to the church so they can do good and redistribute wealth.
Yep.
And I have abdicated responsibility because it's done. And the flip side of that is a liberal version where you're like, no, the church has done nothing but harm in this world. So I'm going to be giving more of my percentage to the government so they can distribute it, but I don't have to watch it at all. And I will not be involved, and I've abdicated responsibility. And it's the same fucking problem where inherently what you've done is given it to unscrupulous people,
right?
Because you're not involved. And like,
absolutely.
It's like the act of responsibility is like, oh, it turns out what we actually need to do is either everybody needs to like pay attention, which turns out doesn't work, or we need to set up so many checks and balances that you actually it's difficult to actually get into corruption.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah,
this was isn't necessarily where we wanted to go with this.
No, this is great. It's interesting to me because like reading his stuff and, reading critics of his or contemporaries even, it's funny because I had coming at it from a perspective of not being ever in and among Christians.
Yeah.
I just had a feeling that this was important, and while it being like very like almost clinical and devoid of anything super like meaty, there was just something in me that was like, this feels very radical and important, and important enough that there is a through line to today.
Correct. I think this also is specifically important to Adventists because of the separatism.
Sure.
And there is an inherent distrust of the government in Adventism, and the idea that the end times are going to be precipitated by both the Catholics and the
right. Yeah. Funny that this is coming from a Catholic.
There is some weird irony in there. But like, I think there is an attraction to libertarian, but the problem is like libertarianism, the Tea Party, which is a weird statement to say, but ruined libertarianism.
Yeah.
Cause like not hard and true, but like there was like kind of two branches of libertarian. There was like, don't take my gun libertarians. And then there was like these intellectual, like philosophical libertarians.
Totally, man. I talk about this all the time because we live in a place where there's a lot of island people who have, many of whom have intentionally little contact with the outside world
with people.
Yeah. And, but also because of, islands.
Yeah.
You are forced to occasionally enter society. And so I end up interacting with a lot of these people as a store owner.
Right.
And what's funny is that a lot of, like there are people that I guarantee you have like crazy libertarian signs on their property.
Right.
Their massive property.
Right.
And, they'll come in and launch into a political rant and I'm like, hell yeah, man. Preach. And then suddenly like as I'm just like nodding in just agreement, then I realize like, whoa, no.
Yeah.
Whoa. Because we've veered.
Yes.
And it is weighted like, 75%. And then it's just like, but then you just like, and I feel like maybe like the Tea Party like found a vulnerability there and just like
twisted.
Yep.
Yeah. No, it definitely is that, because like it became this like, I don't even know how to like, because like I remember watching all of the footage of Tea Party rallies and looking at the crowd and going like if you're like, and I should say just like putting all my cards on the table, like for a good 2-3 years I was hard libertarian, like into like full on anarcho-capitalist. Like I just wanted to like remove all restrictions from everything. It was like I was listening to libertarian podcasts. I was all about the Free State Project in New Hampshire.
Whoa.
It's not the best.
So now our next podcast will be unloading all of that baggage.
Weirdly, I don't have any like.
Sure.
I woke up one day and was like, this is fucking selfish and doesn't work when at any macro level. Like, I think this may have worked when you were like fur trappers, but like, if I'm fundamentally going to believe this, then I can go to no company that has an LLC.
Yeah.
Which I think was part of it, that I was like forming my own LLC to do a design company. It was like, wait, if I'm doing it at this level and like how many of the stores around here that I want to frequent, like I can't buy groceries because Safeway is definitely a massive corporation.
Yeah.
I can't use roads because those are anyway.
Yeah.
It had some problems.
That's why I first met Adam in a ditch.
Yes. Just me walking adjacent to all of the roads. Yeah, that's my no, this is much further.
It wasn't a city ditch. It was a ditch of his own creation.
I just bought all of the land. Like I bought a 1-foot strip everywhere to just be able to get my own right of it. And good God, did I defend it.
And my first words to you were, hello, sir. That's a nice ditch.
And I said, thank you.
Blossoming friendship.
Why are you on the road?
Yeah, right. Yes. And then he cocked his gun and I ran away.
But no, I remember watching footage of like Tea Party rallies and like looking at 75% of the crowd and going like, all of you people, according to Ayn Rand, are leeching off the system. and like, it was this weird, like, and I was already out of it for a ways and be going like, you guys don't believe in libertarianism, because libertarianism is basically saying that like is hard survival of the fittest. And there's like 25% of the people in that crowd that could survive, overnight outside.
Right.
And if you're in a wheelchair, you're fucked. If you have a disease, you're fucked. If you're like any, like you have any like non-ideal trait, you're fucked by it. And so like, it just doesn't hold. It doesn't hold.
Yeah.
I guess all this is to say is Chesterton would have been out because of his weight. Like,
sure. Well, so that's like really when we talk about the politics, that's the big thing. And so the other stuff is just kind of fun stuff.
Yeah.
He created the first fictional priest detective. Named Father Brown. You are so puzzled and like a little bit disgusted.
Well, I'm trying to think. I think Father Brown is a BBC trope. Like it's a series that keeps popping up.
So yeah, his whole thing is like solving crimes and then like going off with the criminal in his priestly role of like recognition and repentance.
Got it.
That angle.
Christian media sucks. Because every single one of them has like even when they're like really good, the denouement is like object lessons as denouements suck.
Oh yeah. Yeah, totally. Talking about him being a very clever boy, he was known as the Prince of Paradox.
Okay.
And so you mentioned like his quotes.
Yeah.
A couple of his quotes are things like, the worst part about being an educated man is receiving an education. Or
Wait, no.
the thing I love most about writing is not writing. Real head scratchers.
That one, the last one, it's just, that's contrarian to be a dick.
Yeah.
It's like, I love it. Best part about my job is when I get to go home.
Adam, he's a clever boy.
But the first one, hold on a second.
The worst part about being an educated man is receiving an education.
Hard disagree.
But don't you see the paradox there?
Yeah.
He's a clever boy.
No. He's... I get the feeling that like talking with G.K. Chesterton would be really annoying.
These are just like, so he engaged in a lot of like civil debate with a lot of contemporaries.
Yeah, of course he did.
Yes. And
well, actually,
right. And it's just like the like level of privilege that has to be acknowledged of the amount of like time that one has just to spend the day with H.G. Wells discussing the finer points.
But to be fair, those are the only people producing media that we have still. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
You know, like now everybody and their dog has time to like write a blog.
Right.
But like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. It's just very... I guess one of the reasons why I felt like he was not a fun topic was that like just the stuffy, like
for sure,
and like entitled nature, you know, it's just like... Yeah. So he's contemporaries with Bernard Shaw and Bertrand Russell and Clarence Darrow. Just like these are his people.
Got it.
A debate rages on today whether or not he was anti-Semitic. And to me, if there is a debate that rages on for that long,
anti-Semitic?
there's probably some degree of anti-Semitism going on there.
How is it? Is there any examples of like, but he could have been talking about them?
Well, there are a lot of caricatures of Jews in his fiction.
But not called Jews?
No, they are.
Oh, okay. And they're always the bad guy?
They're like exaggerations of stereotypes.
Okay.
And he went so far as to basically acknowledge this in like a retrospective autobiography sort of writing, where he started talking about being charged with anti-Semitism. And he says of this, it was, quote, something for which my friends and I were for a long period rebuked and even reviled, which is like, oh, that sounds like a confession to me. Like,
that's a acknowledge, like, yeah, it's like, no, we took flack for that. Did you do it? I'm not going to say. I mean, it's a little bit. Oh, okay.
Certainly by today's social media standards, the man would be canceled.
Yeah.
In an academic standpoint, I guess I understand why the debate rages on. You have only his writings to go by and whatever.
Yeah.
But probably an anti-Semite.
It's
one of his other big claims to fame, aside from the anti-Semitism, is he is basically like directly the influence that converted C.S. Lewis to Christianity.
Oh,
so that's a big fucking deal.
Yeah.
You've got another quotable guy there.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe not you.
No, I know.
People do like C.S. Lewis.
Very much so. Diana, for my wife, for a year or so, worked for the C.S. Lewis Foundation.
Oh.
And like more than anything made me less inclined to be, he's fine, whatever. Just like people obsessed with him irritate the fuck out of me. But
people are into lions and closets and mirrors. This is what I know about C.S. Lewis.
I mean, you're not missing either. Puddle Glump is what Puddle Glump, whatever.
Puddle of Mud.
Yeah. Puddle of Mud.
Big fan.
We would fucking hates me. No, I'm sorry. That's not even Puddle of Mud. That's fuck. Who is that?
Oh, I don't know.
What's the fucking band? Why do I have
Mudvayne?
No. Oh, I forgot about Mudvayne. One of my friends was deeply into Mudvayne. No, Puddle of Mud that's the eye for an eye, right? Like, eye for an eye. Like
Puddle of Mud is She Hates Me. You were right.
Okay, so who am I thinking of? Mudhoney.
Oh, what?
So I got
Mudhoney is a deep cut.
Yeah. Not for here.
Oh, not for here. No. Yeah, Puddle of Mud.
She
hates
fucking hates me.
Yeah. Also, Blurry and Control were their other strings of singles.
I gotta interrupt. I can't think about Puddle of Mud without that lyric of like, I love the way you
smack my ass. I love the dirty things you do. Yeah.
I forgot about that too. Yeah.
Wait, is that right?
I think so.
I want to be sure that that's Puddle of Mud. That's Control.
Fucking hates
Boy,
me.
what a dumb series of singles. Wow. Was it because it was like vaguely controversial? Like, oh man, it's so explicit.
I don't know.
It's gross.
That's sophomore year of high school for me was when like she fucking hates.
Yeah.
she
So
hates
you
me.
get G.K. Chesterton, you get C.S. Lewis, and then you get Puddle of Mud.
Yes,
That
is a progression.
yeah.
And there's a deep cut of Mudhoney in there.
C.S. Lewis does this. I think this might defy your fat man with the initials.
Oh, C.S. Lewis was like wiry and lean. Mm-hmm. The problem here's the thing.
About fat guys, Puddle of Mud, or C.S. Lewis?
C.S. Lewis.
Okay.
And I'm going to bring another character into the whole
Okay.
mix. So C.S. Lewis people feel like Tolkien light.
This is like there's
L-I-T-E, light.
yeah right. Similar to the witches of Instagram, fans of C.S.
Why
Lewis
are you-
are one that I am like leery of crossing.
Oh, I am not.
Okay, great.
Witches of Instagram, I huge respect for. I want to fuck with witches or like pagans of Instagram either.
Yeah.
But like C.S. Lewis fans, like I could take 10 physically.
Okay.
I think.
Well, you heard it here, folks. You'll be able to take.
What are they
Adam
going to do?
on.
They're going to send a animatronic lion after me.
Because you're just like so safe and secure in your quarantine. You're just like sending threats out. I could take 10 people. Oh, well, guess we'll never know.
No.
Guess we'll never know.
Come out of your wardrobe and get me. Send what's his Eustace after me and like and Lucy and fuck you all.
Oh, you've lost me.
There was like a couple years where for some apparent reason a teacher showed in like grade school every lunch we would watch the BBC version of the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I will say like it's that like so bad it's good type characters because they have an animatronic lion for Aslan that just like they had zero money for, so its jaw moved and its two front paws moved, and that's it.
Yeah.
And so it would like
Katy Perry would use that later in the Super Bowl.
correct. But like Katy Perry's was infinitely better because it would just be this like green screened lion with its paws going up and down opposite each other. Like it was on like a like a pedal system so that they could never be independently connected. They were dependent on each other. So they go up and down, but it's like, and its head would go up and down and it would go just flying for like hours. And they kept cutting.
Does the lion talk? Does it have lines?
Yes. Later it does.
And so it would just like.
But well, it would. Yeah, it would. So it would be like this, gravitas English voice would say, "My children," whatever, and do whatever the fuck it was doing. But for most of the time, all I remember is Aslan like flying through, and it would just be these clouds like whipping past in the background. Anyway, what I was going to say, like, Tolkien people also annoy the hell out of me because they like. I'm putting everybody on blast.
Well, you're safe in quarantine.
Yeah, come send your ents after me.
Yeah,
Tolkien people.
Everybody's like starting their list of things to do once they're able to do things in the world, and you're starting to get more and more people who are like confront Adam.
Yes, about his Lewis Tolkien.
Yeah, find 9 other Tolkien fans and accost Adam.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
No, but the thing with Tolkien.
Well, how many Tolkien fans do you think you said you could take 10 C.S. Lewis fans? How many Tolkien fans?
Tolkien would be tougher. I think that there are a few Tolkiens who could take me. I think
you're going to get a lot of big guys.
Yeah, but I could outrun most of the big guys. Just because since I've been running, like a lot during quarantine, so I'm hoping that could outrun
the big boys might also be running right now.
That's true too.
So we might have fast big boys after this pandemic.
Here's the problem with Tolkien, and I challenge any Tolkien person to.
I want a number.
Oh, 1. I think. I think at best I could take 1.
Okay, great.
Because Tolkien fans are much, and this is the thing: the audience is much broader. It's a larger group of people.
Yeah.
The problem with Tolkien.
I'll just put it on record that I could take no fans of either franchise.
Oh yes, you could.
Yeah.
I don't think you would, but I think you could.
Okay.
Like backed into a corner.
I appreciate your support.
You're scrappy. There's an undercurrent of like, the claws will come out and.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not running anywhere.
Anyway, the problem with Tolkien, and I don't think any Tolkien fans would disagree with me, is that he's the first. And so like, he doesn't get all of the tropes right because no one had ever done it before.
Yeah, sure.
And
the tropes weren't there.
Right. And he created all of the, like he created the modern concept of elves and orcs and what modern fantasy, like epic fantasy looks like. That's great. But I think there's so many other people who have done it so much better afterwards, that have iterated upon it and gotten infinitely better at it. And that his stuff, while groundbreaking and I think like commendable and, put him on the shelf, isn't good anymore. It's basically just Tolkien. I think it's that thing where like original, the originator of a genre gets too much credit. Of like, if you're like, I don't understand the going back and rewatching the Peter Jackson movies over and over and over. I don't understand the rereading of these books specifically over and over and over, because I don't think that they certainly don't hold up. They don't, their characters are not rich. Anything that you're bringing to them is your imagination, which is great. I commend the people doing it, but read something with actual character development. And then you can like Frodo and Bilbo don't grow. Sure. That's the kind of like the defining characteristics of literally everybody in the Tolkien series is that they do not change. Like they are one dimensional, and that's the redeeming factor, is like they are like honorable all the way through. Anyway, well, rant done. I don't know how much of that I'm going to cut out.
I hope you don't, and I hope you also don't cut out that people can find you at Coffee Postal on Twitter for any complaints. I have one last thing, and this is it relates to Catholic Corner. Okay. It has been proposed that Chesterton be beatified, which, as you know, is a step on the road to sainthood. Yeah. So big deal.
Should we ask Evie what she thinks?
I haven't
about that?
been nominated.
Me either.
You have to be dead. That's part of it. That's all I have about Chesterton. And that's all we have really about this conservatism series. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe learned something about the past and how it relates to the future, or has built to, big air quotes, this moment.
I mean, it would be interesting to see, 100 years from now, because like I do think that you're absolutely right. The Chesterton distributism.
Yeah.
I wanted to add another syllable in there, but like his distributism very much built to, I'd say, the last 20 years in politics. Yeah. And like specifically like Christian politics. It'll be interesting, like, say 100 years if that's
and it's also like, both with socialism and any offshoot therein, you get, like any momentum that any of that had, like World War II, you have wars in here that just like boom, boom, like
nobody's talking about anything.
Yeah.
We're just rebuilding, and there's going to be war profiteers in the middle who just like who end up getting all the money.
Yeah. So alternate timeline, it would be interesting. Yeah. Where these ideas could have gone.
I mean, that doesn't bode well for humanity just in general, but whatever.
Yeah. That does it. Let's wrap it up.
All right, cool. Hey, thank you so much for listening. You can follow us at KJVPod on both Twitter and Instagram. And like we said at the beginning of the show, since we'll be wrapping the regular episodes up in the next few weeks or so. So be watching for announcements about the new ventures going forward. They'll be coming soon once we kind of solidify what we're doing. Thanks to Mascaras and Resurrection Records for our theme song Kicksadi off the album El Moran. And this week's Resurrection Records artist is Dirty Cheetah. It's like Chester the Cheetah, but dirtier.
Yeah, GK Chester the Cheetah.
Oh, fuck. It was right there.
Yeah.
All right. GK Chester the Cheetah. It's dirty cheating.
It's a really fat animated cheetah eating Cheetos.
I mean,
it works.
So Chester the Cheetah becomes GK Chester the Cheetah after eating all the Cheetos.
Yes.
Got it.
And then he just sits around and pontificates.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And then becomes Tony the Tiger?
No.
How is Tony the Tiger so like barrel chested? How does he not like
Frosted Flakes,
fall?
Obviously.
Yeah, but shouldn't that fall and become a beer gut?
No. You must not be eating your Frosted Flakes.
I have not.
Look at this chest I've got, Adam.
When was the last time you had Frosted Flakes?
Oh, like 2-3 months ago.
Oh, really?
Oh, I'm a sugar cereal boy.
Yeah. But like Frosted Flakes?
Yeah.
I mean, they're great.
You've just said all you need to say.
That's true.
This episode was sponsored by Frosted Flakes.
Kellogg's Frosted Flakes. Bring out the love of little boys in you.
What?
Kellogg. Didn't we do the whole thing about Kellogg? Like being obsessed with with young men.
This ad copy is weird.
Yeah, Kellogg's, what are you doing? 2 scoops of raisins.
Raisins. For some reason, I just thought, like, oh, that's how Toucan Sam talks. Raisin flavored.
All the new podcasts.
Yeah, welcome to the new podcast.
Raisin talk. No, we definitely talked about Kellogg and his his boys giving him enemas.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. So 2 scoops of raisins in your enema.
Got it.
You can find links to the songs that we mentioned like a year ago. All sorts of things on our website, kingjamesvirgin.com.
That'll do it for us this week. Until next week, you know, Adam, the thing I love most about ending a podcast is not ending a podcast.
Raisins.
Sonic Bazaar.